This is a take care of business game for the Chargers, and we are looking for their defense to dominate a bad Tennessee offense, and a couple of former Titans are looking to get their revenge.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, man? Welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Drogemeyer, and we've been covering the Chargers together now for 9 seasons, but this is our 7th year as a host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you to the everydayers, as always, for making us your first listen. To make sure that you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, what do we got today?
Daniel, there are several members of the Chargers defense that have had this game circled since they were brought over, even one as recently as Elijah Molden, a guy who was kind of cast aside for a 7th round pick and has come out and played phenomenal football. So you know he wants to make it hurt against the Tennessee Titans. And on offense, it's all about letting Herbie let it rip, but you got to give him time to be able to do that. The Tennessee Titans have a pass rush that has to be taken account for. And then we finish things up with our bold and game predictions.
Yeah, and as always, we have some really bold predictions for today's show, but today's show is also brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions apply. David, this is a big game coming up for the Chargers. I've said it this week. It feels like a little bit of a trap game, feels like a little bit of a letdown game because the toughest stretch for the Chargers lies ahead. But for this Chargers defense, who has been awesome, they should really come out here and dominate in this game. I mean, this is a Tennessee Titans offense. We don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be, but like you talked about on yesterday's show, I don't know if it really matters too much. Both of them have their flaws. Both of them have been turnover machines in 2024. Yeah. And I'm looking at some of these old Titans, David, guys who have come to the Chargers and played much better. It sucks that Christian Fulton isn't going to be out here for this game. Yeah. But it would be nice if some of these former Titans could go out there and ball out on Sunday, helping the Chargers get a big win.
Absolutely. Like I mentioned, Elijah Molden, guys come over and really kind of been a crucial, essential piece for the back end of the Chargers secondary. He's been fantastic. He's been all over the place. He's been very technically sound. He's really kind of meshed in with this defense so quickly and has already become such an important part of the Chargers' success on the back end, you know, with those 3 interceptions. Could it be as much as 5 interceptions at least up to this point? He really has been around the football. Teaiar Tart, also a guy who's coming from Tennessee who has been fantastic. I mean, a guy in limited snaps, and I think we saw it right away in the preseason when he got his start. He was a man among boys out there when he got his chance, and every time he's been on the field so far for the Chargers, he's made some kind of impact, whether it's against the run or whether it's getting a big man interception. You know that he wants to make his impact on this game, and even Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree has been, a Tennessee Titan as well for a couple of years. You know he wants to get into the backfield and get that quarterback on the ground. Let's get these former Tennessee Titans to show up for this game and make an impact and get a turnover.
Yeah, I would love to see it. I mean, definitely some guys that, especially in the case of Elijah Molden, Christian Fulton, definitely have some bad blood. I mean, Elijah Molden, a 2026 7th round pick, is a smack in the face.
Yeah.
As far as, what he could have brought to that team. I'm excited to see him out there. I mean, he's been not only, probably the Chargers' best safety, but one of the Chargers' just best defensive players, best players, period.
It's crazy.
But I think in this game, one of the biggest keys as far as on the field and just more of a general thing is just to keep up the stingy run defense we saw last week. And it's also part bottle up Tony Pollard as much as you can because he's getting hot and he's really, really good last week. 154 scrimmage yards last week, which is a ton, and just reminds me kind of the games the Chargers have had where things haven't gone their way, or they let, someone like an Alvin Kamara kind of go off, let a James Conner go off. Don't get beat in this game by runs and checkdowns, right? You have to make Mason Rudolph or Will Levis beat you. We know that has to be the game plan, but I do think that for the Chargers, it's nice to see, hey, last week, 79 yards on 24 carries, only 3.3 yards per carry. They were much more physical up front. I think the nice thing about this game is you don't have to devote as many resources to the run game as you did last week, or, to the secondary as you did last week. Because last week, the other team you went up against had a lot more weapons to worry about, and you kind of had to flood those zones. This week, I'm much more worried about the run than I am about Tennessee's, skill position players. You have Calvin Ridley. And Calvin Ridley, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Unless it's
there.
Westbrook-Ikhine in the red zone. I mean, the guy's got 4 touchdowns. But
Definitely. Which, I mean, Ladd and Quentin Johnson both have too. But
yeah,
I mean, it's not the same as it was last week. So it's, hey, do not let this be a game where you just let Mason Rudolph or Will Levis dump it down to Tony Pollard and let him kind of run all over you and let them kind of dictate the game in that way.
Yep, and Tony Pollard missed practice on Wednesday dealing with a foot ailment, so we'll see if he even plays. But Tajay Spears, their other running back, is coming back from that hamstring injury, so he's a guy that probably will get the lion's share of the carries if Tony Pollard isn't able to go. But
important note also that Tony Pollard did not practice all of last week and ended up playing in the game. So I mean, there's really no practice report that we're going to see that's going to tell us really, unless they just straight up say he's out.
No, for sure. And hey, one of the themes in both of the Titans' wins is in their 2 wins, they ran for over 140 rushing yards. So if you want to give the Tennessee Titans an opportunity to win this game, you're going to let them run wild. So you absolutely cannot do that. That's what they want to do. They want to be physical. They want to run the ball. They want to take pressure off of their quarterbacks because they know what they have. And so if you don't let them run the ball, you have to force them to throw, and that's exactly what they don't want to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, why would you? I mean, in the scenario that they have, right? And I think that leads to my next point here, which is just like help the offense out. The Titans have a very underrated, maybe under-regarded defense over there. The points per game is something that's a little skewed just because of the short fields that defense has had to work with because of how bad their special teams and offense are. Yeah. But that team's been a turnover machine, right? Will Levis has 7 interceptions in 5 games. 4 in 9 games last year. That's a huge regression. Almost twice as many and almost half the starts as he had last year. Mason Rudolph, not much better. 4 interceptions in 3 games. This is the crazy one to me, David. Go for the football. The Titans have 14 fumbles in 8 games. That's crazy. They're averaging
so much.
1.8 fumbles per game, not turnovers per game. 1.8 fumbles per game is insane. I mean, that's really a nut stat. And I didn't think I'd have to say this, but if you see the ball on the ground, jump on it, right? The Chargers had 3 balls on the ground against the Arizona Cardinals, and they jumped on none of them. So I think that's a big part of it. And then I think it also works for the special teams too, right? Tennessee's given up 523 punt return yards and a punt return touchdown. They also have had 2 of their punts blocked. Help the offense out against what's actually a pretty good defense over there in Tennessee. And I think it'll go a long way in a game like this.
It absolutely will. And you also want to make sure that the pressure is there, too, to kind of force some of those turnovers that, they are definitely very, very liable to be given up. And the offensive line, I think there's some opportunities here. They got a rookie as a left tackle, J.C. Latham. He's given up 3 sacks and 20 pressures. And they have had 5 different tackles that have logged snaps for the Titans. So it's been a lot of musical chairs all over that offensive line, especially on the tackles and in the interior as well. I mean, they've cycled through 3 or 4 different centers as well. So
yeah, they just lost their best center for the season too.
Exactly. Lloyd Cushenberry was put on IR, unfortunately, and so they're trying to figure out who's going to be out there. And that confusion, we know, like whenever there's different offensive line combinations, you can't have your communication, and that's where errors and mistakes happen.
Yeah, and then, for a game like this, too, talked about it a little bit yesterday, you don't want to be going up against Jesse Minter if you're having, offensive line communication problems. You would want to be going up the other, and then, the other way would be the Chargers because they always have communication problems no matter who's out there. But a lot of similarities. Not the best offensive line in Tennessee, one that's been kind of a revolving door, definitely some opportunities, especially with Joey Bosa going to be out there, especially with Khalil Mack. I would have to guess it's Khalil Mack. He said a couple of needles, basically he'll be good to go. So he's going to be out there too. Got to get pressure. Got to force those errant throws and those hurried throws. And most importantly, just have to get them to those situations, right? Keep up that stingy run defense. Don't give up the short passing game on 1st and 2nd down. Force them into as many 3rd downs as possible because they are very bad 3rd down offense. But now it's time to talk about the offensive side of things where we could see the return of Gus Edwards, which is huge because the Chargers are going to need their running game this week against a team that's been very, very good against the pass. So we're going to talk about the keys for success defensively and our predictions later on the show all on today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First thing I tell you about the Arena Club, though, for most of us that like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 or more on a Luka, Ellie, or Mahomes rookie card just isn't in the cards. I love collecting, but that's some serious money to drop. Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com, now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of the retail price. Every card that I listed was a hit from last week's Arena Club slab pack drop. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Arena Club slab packs are revolutionizing the repack game with transparency. After your pulls are revealed, they will go immediately placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. The Arena Club grading process is accurate, fast, and transparent, with a full grade rationale provided and an explanation of how your card was scored. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the card collecting platform you have to check out. And right now you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL. That's arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL. Code LockedOnNFL for $10 off or 10% off your first purchase. I also need to tell you guys about Hims because your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have the time to go to the doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through Hims, you get a personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside of your door. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. All you have to do, answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medications ships discreet in a package right to you for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products that are mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. David, well, it's time to get into our offensive keys for success here, and I already teased it a little bit. It is a better defense than I think it looks on the outside looking in. That being said, it's not a defense that's so good the Chargers shouldn't be able to go put up points, and teams have been able to put up points against them, right? But I do think, especially after seeing a little bit of life in the running game last week, I'm very excited to see what it looks like this week because the Titans don't have a true brutal weakness defensively. I mean, the run game is where they are weaker, but it's still a top 10, top 11 unit. So it's hard to say that that's somewhere where you can just totally exploit it, especially because of how inefficient and inconsistent the Chargers running game has been. But potentially the return of Gus Edwards this week. He's been, at least his window has been opened for him to be activated to the active roster. He's been limited at practice all this week. Would be awesome if he came back and looked fully healthy, right? 11th in yards per rushing yards per game allowed. That is a spot where the Chargers could find some success in this game. And I think Gus Edwards, having him potentially fully healthy, potentially healthier than we've seen him this season, plus a J.K. Dobbins who's coming off of a very explosive game last week, could be a recipe for success.
Yeah, I mean, and Gus Edwards said through a reporter, Thuckney Win, that he is 100%. So he's feeling great, which is fantastic. Good to hear. And I think we haven't really seen him 100% right up to this point. So if he is truly 100% healthy, that will be a great boon for this Chargers running game. But when they do run the ball, do not run it up the middle. Okay, don't bang your head against the wall. They have Devondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons in the middle, who are both fantastic run stoppers, guys that can clog the hole with just pure mass and quickness, and they do a great job of stopping the run. So run to the perimeters, force those linebackers and those defensive linemen to run sideline to sideline and make them have to tackle on the boundaries and wear them out that way. Don't bang your head against the wall because you're not going to like the results that you get.
Yeah, I'd like to see maybe Darius Davis get involved too. We've seen some shorter
please.
plays to, Quentin Johnson. We've seen some shorter plays to Jalen Reagor. The guy who's best suited for that is Darius Davis. He's the guy who's had the most success doing it since the beginning of last year. So would love to see him get on the outside.
Love it.
To your point of, earlier letting Justin Herbert let it rip. I mean, to me, it's just this. Give Justin Herbert a chance, man. Just if you can give him a chance, like Jeffrey Simmons scares me. It's why it was part of the keys yesterday, part of the crossover. It's a big part of it. Myles Garrett kind of took over last week, and luckily it was only the first half, and the Chargers made up for it with the explosive plays they found.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, even if there's no Myles Garrett in this game, like Jeffrey Simmons taking over this game and derailing the Chargers offense is one of the only paths I see them, potentially losing this game or having it be close. Arden Key's been hot, 4 sacks in his last 3 games. 4 different players on this team have at least 3 sacks. Just don't get beat by Sebastian Joseph Day, okay? Especially on pass rush. Like, I would hate to see that. But to me, you have to give him a chance so that he can let it rip.
100%. And I think when you're looking at the Tennessee Titans and their kind of pass rushers, you're looking at Arden Key and you're looking at Harold Landry on the outsides, which mostly those guys win with speed and quickness. Arden Key has some great quickness and really, really good bend. So the tackles need to be ready to be able to take on and handle that speed on the outsides. And then they're going to have to really be stout up the middle against Jeffrey Simmons, because Jeffrey Simmons can win with power, can win with quickness. He is a wrecking ball. He's a very, very effective pass rusher. So the thing with Justin Herbert, though, is when you let him throw the ball, the Chargers, they win games. 275 plus passing yards in his last 3 games. The Chargers have also scored 26 plus points in back-to-back weeks. So that's a big part, in large part, due to Justin Herbert throwing the ball down the field and making things happen. So if they want Justin to continue to have that success, they can't let him get sacked 5 plus times like they did last week. Give him an opportunity and let him throw the ball down the field.
Yeah, and this is a Titans defense that's only given up 155 passing yards on average per game. So is that a little misleading? Could that change a lot if they don't have L'Jarius Sneed, who hasn't practiced at all this week? Yeah, it definitely could.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's not a secondary that's been easy to throw against, or at least not a defense between their pass rush and the guys covering on the back end. So it'd be great to see. It's really hard to know what this Chargers passing offense is going to look like this week. Hopefully, they don't have to be totally reliant on it, but I think the important thing is, hey, let Justin Herbert throw on early downs, because you want to give him the easiest looks possible against this defense. And like you said, you don't want to bang your head against the wall trying to run the ball up the middle on first down and taking those negative losses on first down or just getting stuffed. So for me, another one, get off to a fast start, right? The longer you let the Titans stay in this game, the more they think they're going to have a chance to win. Have to get them out of their game plan early. And I think also just if you get up on them, it's going to force them to be a little bit more aggressive. It's going to force them to take some risks defensively. And that's potentially when you can start taking advantage of those big chunk plays. Why not give DJ Chark, who's now off the injury report, a chance down the field early, right?
Yes.
And I think just for me, it'll feel a lot better if adding faces offensively, new guys, quicker it clicks, the better it's going to be. And then the big thing for the defense was helping out the offense. The offense actually has to capitalize on the turnovers, David, in the great field position, because last week they didn't. 0 for 3 on scoring off of turnovers. It didn't haunt them last week, but it's going to if they can't do it. And this is a Titans offense that's averaged 2.1 giveaways per game. The offense is bad in Tennessee, and so are the special teams. If that unit gets a good return, you also have to cash in on it. Also, just doubling down, red zone, touchdowns. If you score touchdowns in this game, you're going to win.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is the Chargers have one of the best red zone defenses in the NFL, but the Titans do not. They're 26th in red zone scoring percentage allowed at over 65% in the red zone. They're allowing touchdowns on about 65% or 66% of drives up to this point this season. So that's definitely something that you want to capitalize on. My last one here is find your good old friend Kenneth Murray in coverage. He is still horrible in pass coverage. 27 receptions on 29 targets for 247 yards and 4 touchdowns allowed for Kenneth Murray. He still can't cover anybody, and you know that. So anytime you can line up that matchup, take advantage.
Yeah, familiar faces for both teams on both sides. But yeah, I'd love to see him get the screen game going too. Alvin, our friend on Twitter, I know, is saying, hey, get Kamani Vidal 2 screens in this game as a bold prediction. We'll see if Kamani Vidal plays, right? If Gus Edwards comes back, but it's not 100% that Gus Edwards coming back. Obviously, DJ Chark didn't play the first week. He started ramping back up into things. But like you said, he said he's 100%. We'll see, because the Chargers could use him, but they could use the true version of him that they thought they were getting, the guy that was playing for Baltimore last year. But we still have to get into our bold and our game predictions. Could this be a big game for Ladd McConkey, Josh Palmer? Will the Chargers just keep the Titans out of the end zone altogether? We have a bunch of bold predictions and game predictions and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, I need to tell you guys about LinkedIn, because when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find the quality professionals that are right for the role. And that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs, because LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. That's why they're constantly finding ways to make the process easier, and why 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. I also need to tell you guys about FanDuel, because you can get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page right where you place your bets. Right now, it's holding strong. The Chargers are going into this game as 7.5-point favorites over the Titans, but there's so much more to bet on besides who is going to win. You can bet over-under. You can go how much will either team score, or just anytime touchdown scores, which I'll be looking at for sure. Or you can even just go with Justin Herbert to go over or under 230.5 passing yards. If he's letting it rip, you might be able to hit that. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, David, as we do every week, it's time to get into our bold predictions and our game predictions. And thank you to everyone who hit us up at Locked On LAC. We always appreciate all of our listeners, and thank you for making us your first listen. If you need a second listen, make sure to check out the new slate at Locked On NFL, where you'll see the guy from the crossover yesterday, Tyler, the Madman Roland, in the morning, and my boy Tony Wiggins later on in the barbershop, bringing on the local experts who cover their teams every single day. So make sure you guys check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast from. Dave, let's get to these bold predictions from our listeners. The everydayers have spoken. This is the boldest they have gone this week. So, you know what? Why not just go fully bold with it and just get to a Teair? Because we know he's going to go super bold, so let's start it off hot.
Dad, David, this is your fan of the year that you love. My bold prediction for Sunday: Ledidi and Herbie will connect for 3 touchdowns. Chargers win 38-6, baby. Beat down. Let's go.
I don't think that Teair has had a prediction so far this year that hasn't had the Chargers scoring 30 points, which I appreciate even more because they haven't scored 30 points so far this year. So I appreciate the commitment to the bit of Teair. I love you. I love that, David. I mean, a little bit of a lower game by Ladd, you know, and then the pretty impressive kind of standard he's set for himself so far. But hey, them hooking up for 3 touchdowns. He's tied for the team lead in touchdowns. Herb doesn't have a 3-touchdown game. That's getting pretty bold, but I would love to see it.
I would too, and especially if L'Jarius Sneed doesn't go out there, then he might have an opportunity to do that against a backup corner. Obviously, L'Jarius Sneed is a fantastic player, but if he's not out there, I mean, I guarantee you his backup's nowhere as good as he is. So that might be something that could happen. I mean, man, that's a good one. I hope we do see it.
Yeah, and if he's out there, I mean, the thing is, L'Jarius normally plays on the outside, right? So if they're having him in the slot, shouldn't see too much of him. But I think that's one of the things, you know, the chess pieces Greg Roman has to play around with, especially if someone like L'Jarius Sneed does play. But Kevin thinks it might be a different wide receiver that goes off. This is from Twitter. Kevin says, Josh Palmer has 2 touchdowns and 115 receiving yards. David, it does feel like Josh Palmer's been heating up slowly. And then we've seen some explosives over the last few weeks. What do you think about that bold prediction there?
I think for Joshua Palmer, for me, I can see possibly the 2 touchdowns. I think the 115 yards is probably where I have a little bit of trouble seeing this one from him, because there's a lot of mouths to feed, and I know the Chargers want to get the ball to other players, you know, and so I think, you know, the 2 touchdowns, I think that's something that's possible, but I don't know if we're going to get to 115.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take him much. I mean, considering just how explosive and the, you know, type of catches that he's had over the last couple of games. I mean, over the last 4 games, he's averaged 23.6 yards per catch, which is pretty insane. He's had 2 games where the last 2 games he's averaged over 30 yards per catch, which I would say pretty good. And L'Jarius Sneed might not play, but if he does play, Josh Palmer torched him last year when they met up in Kansas City in the first matchup. 5 catches for 133 yards for Josh Palmer last year when he went up against L'Jarius Sneed. So
That's great.
I think he would be happy about that matchup either way. But let's get this next one from Chris Saiz, who says, full-on Tennessee revenge game. Elijah Molden gets a pick or two, and Teaiar Tart gets a sack and a forced fumble. David, we talked about this. It's revenge of the former Titans. It would be great to see those guys show up in the bowl prediction category this week.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if Elijah Molden gets another interception, at this point, it's kind of like, ho-hum, here he goes again, another interception for Elijah Molden.
We know he'll have a chance at it. I mean, it's a team that'll throw some interceptions, more interceptions than they have games played. So
that's right, and he's definitely been having a knack for bringing those balls down, which has been great. You know, contributing to the Chargers and their turnover differential being in such a positive manner. But I'd love to see Teair Tart get in there, get a sack, or get a strip fumble. That would be really, really cool for me.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to see if he has improved on the ball handling ability as well. High and tight Teair Tart, if he was to somehow come down with a scoop and score opportunity or another interception like we saw against Arizona, gotta hang on to the football. So I like that. I mean, how about this? Let's make it a full-blown Tennessee revenge game. How about Hassan Haskins with a tackle on special teams and a forced fumble? He's been one of their best special teams players this year. That would be great for him to be able to kind of cash in on that after the Titans released him this year. So let's get to this last one from Edgar S. David, who said, bold prediction, the Titans will not score a single touchdown regardless of who their starting quarterback is. Chargers win by 3+ scores. You buying that? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's something that's possible, and when we do our game predictions, you might hear something similar.
Oh, well, I can't wait to hear that. Let's get to our own bold predictions then. What are you going for your bold prediction this week?
My bold prediction is going to be coming from the big bear, Joey Bosa. I think Joey Bosa gets back in on the action. He's had a couple of quieter games, but I think he's just been ramping up, trying to figure out how to kind of play with that injury and hopefully getting a little bit healthier and healthier. I think Joey Bosa goes out there, gets 2 sacks, and one of them is a strip fumble.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I remember the last time these two teams played against each other was Joey Bosa literally sacking whoever the Titans quarterback was at the time with his own tackle. So
yeah,
love that. I think last year in that game, I think he had like 2 sacks and like 20 snaps or something like that, also limited. Seems like he should be ramping up to full health and a full kind of workload. Let's see him get in the stat sheet with a couple of sacks this week would be awesome. I'm going to go Darius Davis. Talking about the team that's given up the most punt return yards in the NFL than a guy that just had his best punt return of the season last week, a 53-yarder. I'm going with Darius Davis, 1 punt return touchdown, 2 40+ yard returns, and a 30+ yard carry. Woo-hoo. That's how you go bold on this show.
Let's go.
I'd love to see it. Go back and watch the Lions game. Like, that's the thing about the Titans
it was
giving
bad.
up the least passing yards in the league. It's like, yeah, but Jared Goff had like 85 passing yards in that game, and the Lions put up 50. They put up a 50 burger on him in a game where Jared Goff gave up 85 points. So it's like, obviously hard to hold that against the defense because Khalif Raymond had a 90-yard punt return touchdown, like a 90-yard kickoff return, another like 60+
like
yard
Madden
punt return.
when I was watching that game.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, and also we talked about the block punts too. So their special teams are a mess. Good game for Ryan Ficken to step up. David, I think we're both going to pick the Chargers in this one. I think the margin of victory is where I'm interested to see where you're at with it. What do you think the score is going to be?
Yep. So I believe the Chargers defense is going to frustrate whoever plays quarterback, whether that's Levis or Rudolph. I think they're going to be running for their lives, to be quite honest with you. Good quarterbacks are 4-0 against the Titans. That's Rodgers, Goff, Allen. I think Justin Herbert is going to make it 5-0. And I think the Chargers are going to win with their largest margin of victory of the season. I'm going the first time, going over 30 points, 34-10. Chargers take home the victory. Go to 3 games in a row and 6-3 on the year.
But you do have the Titans scoring a touchdown, right?
I do.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with Edgar here. I'm going to say the Titans don't score a touchdown in this game. I have the game prediction being 23-9. Modest 14-point, doubling what the spread is on FanDuel. So I don't think it's, that out of, but this is the thing. I don't fully trust the Chargers offense yet. It's been nice. I do think the Titans defense is better than the defense they played the last 2 weeks. Straight up. Maybe actually probably the last 3 weeks. Better than the Cardinals defense too. This could be a tough game for the Chargers offensively. There's no guarantee that the other team is going to blow 2, 30-plus yard plays in this game, because last week could have looked a lot different if you didn't have that, right? Both of those plays were big, giant third downs, big, giant gains or distances you had to gain, and they blew it, right? It's not going to happen, and it hasn't really happened much against the Titans defense, which is why they haven't given up very many yards this year. So can't fall into the trap for this game. This is a take care of business game. This is the last easy game that you have before a brutal stretch against the Bengals, the Baltimore Ravens, Falcons, Chiefs, and Buccaneers. That's your next 5 games. You cannot afford to lose this one. If you win this one, you get a 2.5 game lead over the Cincinnati Bengals. You get like a 2.5 game lead over the Colts for every team. And 2 of those teams would have to come past you for the Chargers to be knocked out of the playoff position. So this is huge for standings, another AFC opponent, and you shouldn't lose these games under Jim Harbaugh, period. The Cardinals have been a better team than we thought they were. They're over 500. The Steelers are over 500. The Chiefs are over 500. They're undefeated. This is a bad team. Continue to take care of business against this bad team, and then you can further the point of showing us you're a good team when you have these good teams you're about to go up against and pulling off a couple of upsets. If they win this and pull off a couple of upsets, the playoffs are in the bag. The last 3 games they have are the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Patriots. Yeah. You got to get these games now and build that lead up, and then go prove to us that you can beat some good teams as well. But take care of business, 23-9, very business-like. Go get it done so we can have a live show talking about another big win, and the Chargers having twice as many wins as they have losses, and it's been a long time since we could say that if they can pull it off. So get the job done, take care of business, put it down on the Titans, and we'll be back with you guys on Sunday night with a live show. To make sure you don't miss it, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. And to make sure that you never miss the show, you can also find it on all of our social media. You can hit us up where everyone hits up for these fan mail questions at Locked On LAC. You can find us on Instagram at Locked On Chargers and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page. If you guys want to call in for a buy or sell, for a Charger mailbag, or your bold prediction, you can call into 323-524-7924. If you want to keep up with us for live in-game updates, make sure to check us out on Twitter. You can find me at Dan Talk Sports and David at Dro Talk SD. And also make sure to check out the Chargers postcast, which is a live, raw reaction that you're going to get from those guys right after the game while we get ready to do our live post-game show later on. But big game this weekend. Get to 6-3 and then hunker down for a tough stretch. But until then, the live show on Sunday night, guys. We'll talk to you then. Until then, take it easy and go Bolts.